regarding issues to do with taxation, not so long ago, actually it was in March, government did introduce new tax proposals, as is expected every year. 5 new tax proposals were introduced by the Ministry of Finance, and the 5 include the Income Tax Amendment Bill, the Stamp Duty Tax Amendment Bill, the Excise Duty Tax Amendment Bill, the Stamp Duty Tax Amendment Bill, the Value Added Tax Amendment Bill, among others. But I would like to address myself specifically to the Excise Duty Amendment Tax Bill. Why? Because this is where people are most affected. When government proposed that amendment bill, the Excise Duty Tax Amendment Bill, they proposed an increment on commodities such as fuel and kerosene, and we know that an increment on such commodities would lead to a skyrocketing of prices almost for everything, and that is where everybody's life to the common person is affected. Because when you talk of increasing, putting a new tax of 100 shillings on either diesel or petrol, then you know that the transport fares are going to increase. The prices of bringing food from the areas of plenty to the areas of scarcity in the towns would also increase, and that would also mean that the prices of food, for example, will increase. Now, I find this interesting because not so long ago, in 2023, the Minister for Energy was actually pushing for a government action to try and reduce prices of fuel in the fuel pump for a Ugandan. And in doing so, government enacted the Uganda Petroleum Suppliers Act, which was signed by the President in 2023, at the end of 2023. And this gave Uganda National Oil Company, UNOC, exclusive rights to import fuel or to supply fuel in Uganda, with the main objective of actually reducing price on fuel. So what I do not understand is how the Ministry of Finance can come up with such a proposal to increase tax on commodities such as fuel when Cabinet is thinking of how to reduce the price of fuel in the fuel pump. I think from the perspective of where I come from, which is civil society, ACORD is also a member of the Tax Justice Alliance Uganda. As civil society, we start to look at these proposed taxes, and our opinion was that, or our position was that we are not in favor of this taxation, while we appreciate that this is actually a tax measure for government to collect more taxes, but we thought that taxation on fuel is not something we would support. For that matter, I would actually think that government, instead of proposing new taxes, they should actually reduce taxes, even from the current rate that we are seeing. They should reduce it further to enable Ugandans to be able to have purchasing power and to be able to transport goods such as food to the market and make it available for everybody. Now, of course, we all know that government needs money to be able to provide services. So in a way, I would also like to propose, since we are not in favor of taxing commodities such as fuel, I think there are areas government should look at. For example, when you go to the mining sector, Uganda has about over 50 types of minerals, and all these have a potential to change, to have a positive impact on our economy. However, what we see currently is that the sector is contributing less to the economy. Government came up with a new law, the Mining and Minerals Act of 2022, which, for example, provides for formalization of artisanal and small-scale miners. I think if government fast-tracked the processes of the formalization of the artisanal and small-scale miners, the country is likely to get a lot of revenue from the mining sector. However, for now, much as the Act provides for that formalization, we see that the formalization is very slow. I don't know whether on the part of government they were not prepared, but they put up the law by themselves. There are still a lot of things to be done to enable the enforcement of this law. When you talk to the artisanal miners and small-scale miners, they will tell you the requirements for formalization is too much on their side. For example, an artisanal miner who is interested in formalization is supposed to provide a certificate as proof of mineral carriers, and we know that some of them do not have the capacity to be able to do that. So my prayer to government is that they should relax on some of those requirements and make it easy for anybody who would like to formalize to do so. You must have also had the conversation around the country that a majority of Ugandans do not pay their fair share of taxation. It's only a few category of Ugandans that pay their fair share of taxation. And that's a small group is the one bearing the burden of taxation in Uganda. Yes, I intend to incline myself, or I intend to agree with those who have made that observation. For example, those who are in formal employment pay as you earn, and Ugandans are the highest payers of pay as you earn in the East African region. So I want to think that if government brings down the threshold or reduces the threshold for pay as you earn, it would leave Ugandans with a lot of money on their hands to be able also to develop themselves, maybe start up businesses that would end up paying taxes. Instead of taking everything someone has worked for, at the end of the month, somebody doesn't even have a purchasing power. Everything goes to government. People have been joking around that actually, after government has deducted the pay as you earn, they should take the remaining part of the salary and give us the taxes. You know, it has reached that level. That is how much the tax burden is. The same person who pays pay as you earn also goes and pays taxes in form of indirect taxes whenever they are purchasing fuel for their vehicles to come to work. When they go to buy sugar, they are still paying indirect taxes. Indirect taxes is the highest form of taxation in Uganda. That is what government relies on most. But in terms of direct taxes, there are a few Ugandans who are paying their taxes. Just last week, we had the Permanent Secretary and Secretary for the Treasury and Ministry of Finance communicating to the press. And in his communication, he did mention that Ugandans are the least taxed in the East African region. In fact, Uganda comes second after Tanzania. Tanzania is the least taxed. And while that also seems to be true, but I think it is unfair in terms of how that is measured. Because normally they use GDP to come up with such a measurement, and I think it is unfair if you put into consideration how GDP is computed. It is usually a contribution of a few people that actually can account for all that narrative. So for me, the statement by the PSST, Ministry of Finance, seems to be true, but when you come on the ground, it is not true that majority of Ugandans are paying taxes. Only a few Ugandans are paying taxes, and would like to advise government to cast the tax net wide. Let every Ugandan be able to contribute something small in form of direct taxes, and then reduce the burden on the few who are overburdened with the taxation.